Welcome back to Fisher Enclave City, and the city has grown enough where we can finally add a campus or two. But why stop at two when you can have them all? And of course, we will upgrade all three campuses to their max level so we could unlock and utilize the unique campus buildings for maximum prosperity. I am Captain Ahvious, and this is the advanced guide to Campus DLC. In this video, we will answer questions such as what is the benefit of having a campus? Why should I have a campus? When should I build a campus? And how do I level up all three campuses to their maximum level? If you are just joining us, not only is this a complete guide to Campus DLC, we will be adding the campuses in an actual ongoing vanilla city that is part of my Season 2 YouTube series. The only game-changing mod that we are using is unlimited ore and oil, while everything else is just visual mods to make it easier for me to present and for you the viewer to enjoy. There are no anarchy, move it, or traffic manager mods, so if you play on console, PS4, or Xbox, everything you see here is repeatable. So what is Campus DLC for your city? Instead of having just the generic single building university, you can have more fun by creating an entire layout filled with various new campus building models. The campus DLC also comes with 5 new varsity sports buildings that can be part of your campus, or you can choose to have the stadium function independently as part of your entire city. However, a campus has a much larger footprint than a generic university. But think of that as an opportunity rather than a displeasure. Instead of having endless zone blocks, you can be creative and use the campus as a space filler and instill variety. Before we get too far ahead, I will explain how I plan my campus layout. The campus DLC has a lot of neat new buildings, and I try my best to feature these beautiful structures through transportation routes. For example, this monorail track. Now imagine traveling through and look at that administration building. That is absolutely gorgeous. Of course, we'll add in the campus fountains or statues as soon as the building is unlocked. Speaking of which, we are about to level up, and if we're lucky, we'll get at least 2 academic works. And in order to get academic works, you just have to spike up the academic staff funding to 20k and provide 50k grant to whatever you choose. And back to the monorail track. As we travel further to the left, you see these high density buildings, and then further down, you will see this police academy from the campus, which looks absolutely great. And further down is of course the station, and I'm using these modern city center just to break things up a little bit. All right, let's check our status, and we are about to level up. Let's fast forward. Hopefully we'll get 2 academic works. Come on, 2. Give me number 2, lucky number 2. And we did level up. We're just fortunate, and we have the other buildings unlocked, and of course now we will continue designing. So why should I build a campus? Each campus type comes with 3 unique faculty buildings that improves the overall performance of your city. For example, the School of Tourism and Travel from the Trade School campus increases income from all commercial zones, while the School of Economics from the Liberal Arts College increases office zone revenue. So these are 2 of the 3 zone types that we use to grow our city, and the campus improves their performance financially. There are, of course, other perks which are not economy related, such as citywide decrease of garbage accumulation, which means you don't need to add more pollution producing garbage facilities. There is also a perk where it reduces citywide electricity consumption and overall pollution. And if you like that, you may also like the reduction of water and sewage consumption. So for the most part, these are just a few of the many reasons on why you should have a campus in your city. We are again about to level up, and what we need are more students, And we also need at least 2 academic works. So let's make sure we provide that 50,000 grant. And regarding the students, what if you look here, we need 800 and we are just a little under that. And in order to get those students, what I'm going to do is I am going to delete the generic universities in the city to force them to relocate to the campus area. And I'm going to fill up these gaps with something else like a high school. And on this one, let's put in a hospital. It's never bad to have more hospitals in the city. And let's take a look. Let's see. And we look at that. We got 2,100 students and we only needed like what 25. So, yeah, so what we did was we forced everybody to go to school here instead. And there we are. We leveled up. We have +3 academic works. We have more buildings to add in. And again, we are not going to like finalize our design. Instead, all we want is to upgrade this. But before we add in more buildings, I want to redo this entire area. For one thing, this police academy is supposed to be the highlight of this area, but it seems to be blending in with these modern city center buildings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this commercial with just generic low density. And the other thing that I want to redo is this area. So this European buildings can conform to slopes, that they work perfectly, as you can see. But the courtyard or the inside just looks terrible, and my OCD will not accept me to have this. So I'm gonna just rejig this a little bit. As I mentioned, the campus DLC comes with 5 additional varsity sports buildings, and our first campus, which is the trade school, has the track and field stadium. I personally favor stadiums with an open field so we can gaze and observe the sports activities of the Sims, while the basketball arena and aquatic centers are closed buildings and is thus less appealing for my taste. These stadiums would just blend in with the rest of the buildings and it doesn't stand out as much compared to the open stadiums. I realized in the previous episode that I've overextended the self-sufficient high-density buildings. Therefore, I will revert back to utilizing more European zone buildings than the high-rise eco-structures. When I create a new area, I try to tell a visual story. And this story is all about our first campus, so we wouldn't want any other taller buildings to steal the attention from the campus area. Level 4 campus incoming, and we have sufficient attractiveness points, and we also have more than enough students. And we have already provided the 50k grant, so all we need to do now is to hope that we get at least 3 academic works to level up. So while we wait, let's review what we've done. I wanted to make this police academy more prominent, and what we did is by replacing the modern city centers with generic low density buildings, and I've also made them historical from the first level. This building I missed to make historical, and see how tall the structure has become, and we made it. We have leveled up. We have at least 3, which was the minimum. We'll get back to that a little later. And yeah, so since I missed to make this historical, notice how it is nearly as tall as the police academy. So imagine if I missed to make everything historical, we would just go back to square one where this thing is no longer like the main feature of this area. So you're gonna notice me making things historical in throughout all my cities because height matters in my build. Speaking of OCD, since we have widened the block in the inner courtyards, looks much more tolerable compared to how it looked previously. And now all we need to do is fill in the requirements, add in more attractiveness, and we are not gonna make it into 1 year. We'll probably need a few years, maybe 2 or 3, to reach that academic works requirements. We have more than enough students and campus attractiveness, and since it will take about 3 in-game years to create enough academic works, I will take this opportunity to fill in as much as we can in the surrounding areas of the campus. If you have been following along the series, education is actually the final step on having a thriving city. In episode 15, we discussed city planning and transportation, which focuses on reducing city traffic. If anything, this game is a traffic simulator. But when you get past all the traffic woes and city management, the game slowly becomes into an OCD simulator. Then in episode 16, we discuss strategical ways to efficiently zone your city, where zoning is a matter of gathering all the noise producing structures in one basket while separating the residential beyond the reach of all the clash and clatter. And in episode 17, we covered methods on how to avoid death waves and not become a Titanic mayor. If at any point in time you start plopping down various death care facilities because there are skulls appearing in your city, you know that you are guilty of being a Titanic mayor. And lastly, this episode 18 covers education, which avoids having the not enough educated workers alerts to appear. You simply need to keep your education level for elementary, high school, and universities above the green 75% availability. Education takes time, so make sure that you have these schools in place before you provide schools that they will be qualified for. And if you follow these steps religiously, you will become the mayor that you always wanted to be, and that is a mayor without stress. You will no longer have to worry about traffic, funding, workers, or customers. Instead, you can focus on the design of your city. If you play on PC, how many times have you installed so many mods and assets, and yet you still encounter either traffic, death waves, not enough customers, or not enough workers issues? Without the knowledge of the base fundamentals of the game, these will be reoccurring instances. And if you have been following my guides attentively, I can imagine that you are much closer in building your stress-free dream city. Funny enough, there's still actually much to learn at a vanilla level. Surprisingly, I still learn new and efficient ways to deal with certain situations. And how I learn things is by experimenting and slightly tweaking a few things. For example, what is more efficient traffic wise? A grid city or an organic city? I have dabbled with both, and my honest feedback is that both road layouts work. It really just depends if you provide sufficient highway and transportation access, which was discussed in episode 15. And if I do learn something new, of course, I will make sure to share that knowledge to my fellow mayors. Speaking of trying something new, this is actually my first city where I plant maple trees along the main avenue. This is more of a design experiment, and what is important is to remain consistent. The swirly road paths I have showcased in Season 1, and it is consistent with this Season 2. But I am certain that in the next season, we will be experimenting on a new design style. And finally, we have acquired enough academic works to reach the final prestigious reputation level of our campus and check out how much we are earning. And we have yet to remove the academic staff funding, which subtracts 20,000 from the overall expenses. In addition to achieving prestigious campus reputation, we have unlocked the first museum, and the museums function the same way as any other regular unique building, where it increases attractiveness for your city, but the attractiveness for your museum would increase as more academic works are created. So I will just place it here for the meantime. And now let's add in all the newly unlocked buildings. And I will just place her here. This one there, please. Yes, there it is. I see it. And you'd want at least one building of each type, because not including the dormitories, because the more buildings you plop down, the greater the campus expense you will incur. And I don't think we have a med lab yet. Bookstore, we already have one, so that means that's the end. Now we have at least one building of every type of our trade school campus, and the finalization of our campus design will be based on the lighting at night. So let's say we were traveling at night via monorail, and look at how gorgeous that campus entrance is, especially with that city arc and campus statues. And moving along, we have the administration building, which is also well lit. And to the back, we have, of course, the clock tower and campus fountains right there. And of course, we have the commencement office, which is well lit. And to the left, we have the large police academy. And to the right, and at the end of the line, we have the track and field stadium, which lights up magnificently. So what about the other buildings? So that is where the tram line comes into play. And the buildings that we are looking to place alongside the tram track are campus structures with the most lighting or are the most fascinating. So let's start with this study hall. This side of the building is not particularly interesting, but the other side has a neat little staircase with better lighting. So let's flip her around. So that looks definitely much better, where you can see the staircase, and as you're like traveling along this avenue, that is definitely a nice view of the building. Let's moving along. So we have this auditorium, and we also have this med lab, which, I mean, it looks nice, but is not particularly interesting. So let's try to replace them with something else with much better lighting. So let's look into the city. Oh, we have this gym, which is well lit, and it's also nice that they have the words on it. And also this cafeteria, which is kind of like a half circle. So that'll be neat to place in. So let's go ahead and replace those buildings. All right, so now we come to the School of Tourism and Travel and also the School of Engineering, which are huge, unique campus buildings and will definitely remain alongside the tram track. And that is pretty much the end of the line, but let's check if there are other buildings which deserve to be along the tram track. And that that laboratory definitely deserves to be worshipped. It looks great. And this is a bookstore. I guess this should be like right in front, so let's reposition them. So for the most part, we have determined what buildings are going alongside the tram track where they look great during day or night. Before we finalize the layout of our trade school, we will first establish our second campus. A lot of time will pass, so as we restructure the trade school, it is also an opportunity for the second campus to level up. So for the meantime, I will place the second and eventual third campus in the new game tiles. The objective of these two campuses are just to maximize their level, but we will not be finalizing their actual campus layout. That will be for another episode. The final design of the trade school is now in session. But because I need to zoom in and it will also need to be in a time lapse, it will be extremely difficult to follow on what's going on. I also cannot have it run on regular speed because it will take over an hour. So instead, we will fast forward to the completed design and I will simply explain my logic on how I've designed this trade school campus. Let's get back to the second campus, and an academic year has passed, but it did not level up. It's not necessarily just due to the lack of students, but we were unfortunate to have just created one academic work where we needed to. And regarding the lack of students, there are two other ways to increase the number of enrollment, and that is by making a citywide education boost. So I will tick on that, and you can check out my policies. This is the only one that I have applied throughout the entire city. And if you actually want to increase your income, just click on this for. But I am so vanilla, I don't use even policies in my cities. And let's check out the student. Yeah, there you go, and it spiked up, and this should level up pretty soon. So we're gonna be going back and forth, but I may not display this unless we are running into a hiccup. And let's not forget to always give in a research grant. Current timeline is at 2104 with a 1-star rating. Fast forward to just 4 years to 2008 and we are now a 4-star campus. That means every year we have been consistently leveling up, except for that one extra year to create more academic works to fulfill the requirement for the prestigious Max reputation of the Liberal Arts College. Of course, throughout the years, we have been adding more campus buildings for attractiveness, and I've also added a varsity baseball stadium. Do not mind the unenthusiastic layout, for this is not the final design of our second campus until the reputation level is maximized. But within the 4 years game time, I completed the final layout of our first campus. The trade school campus is finally completed, and you'll notice that I maintained the same buildings along the tram line and I made a large park in the middle. This is the main entrance of our campus, and I've added some fencing all the way around the campus. And at certain breakpoints, I've added in side parks, which is an excellent addition, but think of them as campus gates. And in this corner, instead of making the gate wrap around in a curve, I wanted to break the pattern, so I made a corner park, which I think looks great. And moving along, we have the same buildings. I placed 3 buildings at a time, and then I used another park as a breakpoint. So in this part, we just have this solo sundial, because just in case you misplace your watch or your phone, it's always nice to have a sundial around. And of course, we have this large school of engineering. That building is awesome. And again, we have several buildings, and this time for our other breakpoint, I made a artificial park, which looks pretty neat. And of course, this is the end of the tram line over here, so everything else on this side. And look at all those gates, they really match this area. And here we of course have our track and field stadium, and going down we have the monorail line or station. And again, this park or this large park is actually part of an illusion, because this is again a slope. So if you look at that, where's the slope? There it is. It's a slope and you just don't see it. I'm pretty good in hiding things. So for example, this again is a slope. It may appear that the entire map is flat, but yeah, there are certain ways to hide things. Oh, we got one abandoned guy. And see, even this is all with slopes. And then if we look at it, it looks pretty damn smooth, and that's the way the captain likes it. Everywhere, all around, even around the coastline here, it's all smooth. Very, very nice. Very, very clean. And look at that. This is just one episode and we finished that all together. I noticed some traffic here. What is going on? Why is that? 92%, but this is still very peculiar. Why do we have traffic? I think... Where did they all come from also? Well, it's about to dissipate soon, and we're still at 93. But overall, I think the city is still pretty darn healthy. Let's look around just to make sure. Yep, it looks pretty good. And let's check the stats. Yep, still pretty strong. Traffic flow is good. Income fluctuates, but it is recovering slowly. What happened to this guy? Oh yeah, so that's the only downside of doing historical. When they become abandoned, you have to physically demolish it so that they would rebuild. But overall, the city is looking great. Look at that progress. And now I will continue. Wait, where is that? This has not leveled up yet. Okay, just need a few more moments. But when this levels up, I will create the third campus, and I am not expecting to have any issues. And while I build that third campus, you know what? I might as well add in the other things I want to level up because it's wasted time. I'll add in the oil facilities here. Zoo, that's another thing that I want to level up. So let's level up as many as we can, and also the what's the last one, nature reserve, so that there it is, finally leveled up. Yeah, we're not just gonna hit two birds with one stone. We're gonna hit as many birds as we can through leveling up everything at one time. If you recall that the second campus reached prestigious reputation level by the year 2108, it is now 2112, and in just 4 in-game years, the third campus was able to maximize its reputation, but not without sacrificing a few stars from the first 2 campuses. Let me just make sure that we remove the academic staff funding. Okay, so this is good. This one, all right, let's make sure that this is gone. And notice how the College of Liberal Arts now just have 2 stars, while the Trade School campus only has 1 star. It appears that the third campus has stolen all the students. But not to worry, the maintaining reputation of the campus does not matter as long as you've reached the prestigious level in the shortest amount of time and are utilizing the unique campus buildings, then it should all be worth it. But be aware that because there are barely any students in the other 2 campuses, that it is now losing money. How I was able to encourage students to enroll to the third campus was by increasing the number of student capacity with many auditoriums, which each building has a 600 student capacity. So this is an auditorium, but instead of having just 600, if you look here, the actual amount is 600. Let me just find that auditorium. There it is. It says 600, but when we click on it, it says about 800. That is because we have one of those unique buildings that improve the number of students. I'm not sure which one that is. Economics, education, there it is. An influx of substitute, and no, that's... Let me find that here. It's much more better if we look at it through here. Environmental studies, education, here it is. It says which allows classroom to have higher student capacity and helps them educate more efficiently. So that is why instead of this having only 600, it now has 8. So much like all the other perks, it is now being applied throughout the entire city. As I mentioned, during the 4 in-game years of waiting for the university to reach the prestigious reputation, I squeezed in to level up the oil industry, which is right here. And it is already maximized, while the zoo and the nature reserve still require some time. They will eventually level up on their own. Well, there you have it. That is how I smoothly maximize the levels of all 3 campuses in order to unlock the unique campus buildings and start exploiting their perks. Again, all 3 campuses cannot maintain a prestigious reputation because eventually students will graduate. So how do you maximize the levels of all 3 campuses and in the shortest time possible? Well, first you need students, which means you need a large population. Notice how I started my first campus at around 50,000 population. If you start too early, you may struggle in leveling up each campus. The generic universities should suffice for their higher education needs until you have enough population to attend to your campuses. When you have enough population and have started your campus, you can then proceed to delete the generic universities and force the students to attend the campus. Take note that you should not build 2 or 3 campuses at once. Maximize each campus one at a time. Then, when you still need more students, simply apply the Citywide Education Boost policy, which should encourage your Sims to attend schools instead of going to work. If you want more students in one campus than the other, simply provide more student capacity to the campus of your choice with auditoriums. You can also reduce the student capacity in the other campus which you want less students by removing certain buildings. Now that we have all buildings unlocked in all campuses, in future episodes we will finalize the campus layout design and will also finalize the designs for our oil industry, zoo, and nature reserve. I surely hope that this convinces other mayors to utilize campuses more. You don't necessarily need to have all 3 campuses in your city, but the objective of this video was to showcase that it is possible to have all 3 and in the least reasonable amount of time that you may prosper in the campus's many benefits. This is Captain Ahvious. Have a pleasant rest of your day. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again in the next episode.